Hey Fandom, it's me, Aaron, for a comic show. This is New Comics Now. I'm here with my Hypercolors comic show t-shirt that we're testing out. It changes color in the sun, just like in the 90s. And I got just a few DC books, a small stack of Marvel, and a bunch of like indie and whatnots. So let's start with DC. Superman Lois Lane. It's a one-shot by, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, my connoisseur of culture, Cap, told me it's Margaret Bennett, or it could be Margaret Bennett, or something like that. She is a protege of Scott Snyder. She's written the Lobo one-shot. She wrote the Joker's Daughter. Now she's writing this Lois Lane one-shot. So these one-shots are kind of like for her, you know, kind of testing her out. I know that she has good stuff lined up, and I liked it. I am not a fan of Lois Lane in general. Like, okay, I'm not a fan of Lois Lane as a foil for Superman. I just don't like when it's just Lois Lane's in danger, Superman saves her, she makes Superman carry her purse. Like that dynamic, I don't dig. Lois Lane as a badass investigative journalist, you know, just hardcore, not getting saved by Superman, I can get into that. That's cool. That's neat. So, you know, I think I was just burnt out on the whole, like, the dynamic of Lois Lane from the 80s, and this was pretty cool. And Marguerite, I think you're going to do a lot of great things with DC. Awesome. Glad Scott Snyder pulled you along, and let's kick some butt. Moving on, we got Superman Batman First Contact Part 1. Jae Lee's back. That's the good news. You love Jae Lee from the first few issues. You ask me again and again, why is he not here? When's he going to be back? Well, he's back now. And you know how in the first few issues they dealt with alternate versions of Superman and Batman and whatnot? Well, in this, it kind of harkens back to that, where they deal with alternate versions of some of their characters, their daughter and cousin, Huntress and Power Girl. So the good news is Jae Lee's back. The bad news is, to read this storyline, you have to read this book too. This is Part 1 and Part 2, both out this week. So it's either a good time to check out Huntress Power Girl or a good time to drop Batman Superman altogether. So those are your options. Your options really aren't just to continue to get Batman Superman and only get half of a 4-part story. So that's how it is. The story itself was pretty fun. I'm not a big fan of Paul Levitz's writing. I know I have a lot of people that watch this show that are. I just never really clicked with me with Legion stuff. I know it's, you know, has legendary status and all that, but I just not one of my favorites. So I don't know why they're doing this, other than the fact that it really does jive with the central theme of the book of Batman and Superman dealing with crazy alternate realities and whatnot. And I know that Earth 2 is going to factor in super heavy in the next big thing for DC, and I'm excited about that. And I love the Earth 2 book, and I think Huntress and Power Girl are going to go back to Earth 2 now that, you know, whatever. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's what I think is going to happen, and it was pretty fun. So make your choice. Moving on to Marvel, we have Fantastic Four #1, and look, they made a 4 out of the A. That's pretty cool, right? And it's the fall of Fantastic Four. They're wearing red costumes. That's different, right? But and there's a storm warning. So here's my thing. My guy Oral, he wrote on the Facebook that if you're upset about a black guy playing the Human Torch because it's different than the comic, why don't you actually read the comic? So, you know, support the comic. Buy the comic if that's what you love so much. So anyway, we all know that people like to complain on the internet more than they like reading comic books. So, you know, that isn't a real thing. But James Robinson's writing this. Leonard Kirk's on art. Great team. And I just love James Robinson. He did Starman, and he does great beginnings of stories, great endings of stories. And the beginning of this story is actually called The Fall of the Fantastic Four. It's pretty awesome. So I dig that. I like the context. I like the time stuff. I like the family, the legacy. All these are strengths of James Robinson, and I'm excited for his Fantastic Four run. Hawkeye Fun and Games, issue 15, came out after issue 16. That's weird. I thought, it's been so long, and I love this book so much, it's going to be weird getting back into it. Was it really as good as I remember, or was I just so caught up in it and all the hoopla of Hawkeye? Yes, I loved it. Yes, it was great. And it has a ridiculous cliffhanger. It has him, his brother, it has his exes, it has all that stuff, and a ridiculous cliffhanger that I'm not going to spoil. A ridiculous one. I liked it a lot. Moving on to Superior Spider-Man Gotham Nation Part 2. Parker, Spock, his world is just crumbling. It's just falling apart. There's some cool MJ stuff in here, and yeah, everything's just going totally to crap. And we know from solicitations for April that good things are happening for Peter, so enjoy it. It's fun. Guardians of the Galaxy, I loved Summers' time. I loved seeing young Scott Summers and his dad reunited. That was just touching for me. I'm a sap for that kind of stuff. I like the Guardians and these spacefaring mutants and the Starjammers and all that. This is a really awesome story that I'm glad Bendis was doing both those books so he could tell this story together, and he's doing quite possibly the coolest things he could do with it. Like I said, a young Summers with his pappy. That was very touching. And of course, Jean Grey is on trial, and we get to see, how does she plead? Probably not guilty, because the crime she didn't commit it. It wasn't her. Wolverine 2 came out. I liked it better than 1. I know when I reviewed 1, I was totally on the fence. I totally thought it was freaking weird, and not in the weird way that I was excited about it. Like Superior Spider-Man was totally weird, totally different, but I loved it. It totally had me hooked. Where this is oh man, I'm just not digging this. And it's not just isolating anything. I don't like Wolverine with a gun. I don't like Wolverine without his healing factor. I don't like Wolverine wearing the Constrictor's costume. It didn't feel right. And this, we got some more information about who he's working for, what he's doing. You got a lot of Spock Spidey in here, which was great. And I enjoyed this issue. And he's basically just on his vendetta against Sabretooth. That's normal. That's something I can link onto. That's a whole lifelong Wolverine thing, going back to Wolverine Origin. And Wolverine Origin, I dug. I like this. It's weird to see them working together, Sabretooth and Wolverine. It's weird to see this stuff. And I hate circus stuff. It's just, I don't know if I was traumatized as a little boy, but luckily, the circus stuff that's on the cover really doesn't last that long, really doesn't get much screen time, and it's on to all the cool experimentation and cutting up Logan and seeing scientifically what's going on with him. But it was a fun issue. I liked it better than issue 2. Origins 2, pretty cool. And, of course, the art's great by Adam Kubert. Wolverine and the X-Men. This was my favorite Wolverine book of the week. It's the finale of Jason Aaron's run of Wolverine the X-Men. There is a 2-page teaser of the next Wolverine the X-Men run by Jason Latour, Jason Aaron's buddy. They're going to be doing Southern Bastards together by Image. And I like this. It's kind of like a blast to the future, and it focuses very, very heavily on Kid Omega, Quentin, and Dark Phoenix in training. It was an awesome send-off, graduation. I liked it. Rick Remender, this is so weird. And I can't say anything without a spoiler, but is it really a spoiler? Because how can any of this be real? How can any of this jive with anything else? I love you, Rick Remender. This is fun. It's great art. It's a great story. But it's so weird that, you can't even talk about it with people that don't read that. You're like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, that's not true because of all these other characters. And, well, it's an alternate thing. Ragnarok now. It was cool. Rick Remender's doing a great job with Uncanny Avengers, but you can't really talk about it without confusing people or spoiling it. So what can I do? Moving on to Cataclysm, The Ultimate's Last Stand, Part 5 of 5. The end, it looks kind of like Zero Hour, all white, you know it's the end, and everything is over. And it all leads into that book, Survive, which is on the 26th, and you already have seen Miles on the cover, so you know Miles survives, thankfully. And a lot of characters don't survive, and this is it. That's the Cataclysm. That's the end, and I can't really spoil any of it. Another MIRACLEMAN came out. I'm enjoying this. I hadn't read the Alan Moore original writer stuff. I've read some of the later stuff, and I'm very excited about Neil Gaiman ending it. So I hope it keeps selling well. I hope it becomes this big deal with Neil Gaiman ending it. I'm excited about that, and I am enjoying the book. The Wake by Snyder and Murphy. This is part 6, but it's actually part 1 of Act 2, and they took a big narrative leap here, a big risk, and it was awesome. It was really cool. You can get 1 through 5 all together in this kind of book that's not really a trade for $9.99. Great deal. Look for that. It's called Book 1 of The Wake, but this jumps 200 years into the future where those crazy humanoid fish people, those mer people have taken over the world. They've flooded Florida, they've just decimated everything, and it's this new world that's kind of like Waterworld, but not really. No one's drinking pee that I saw, but it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. I love Scott Snyder, I love Murphy working together. I hope they always have something out together because they work so beautifully together. And the way part 6 was awesome. I really liked how it's like, well, here's this missing link to our evolution in the first 5 parts, and then it's like, and here's 200 years in the future after that missing link comes and destroys us. And I really enjoyed it. Moving on, this was, of course, my favorite book of the week, Deadly Class, number 2, Rick Remender. You know how much I loved part 1. I can't say enough about this book, just the trade dress, the art style, the color palette, and 1987, year I really loved, and Rick Remender, you're brilliant. I just love the Deadly Class. It's kind of like the League of Assassins meets Harry Potter. Okay, so it's like this Hogwarts, except it's a school where they teach all these homeless kids how to assassinate people very well. And that's a lot of fun. And they're kind of straight edge. It's like don't drink, don't smoke, don't have sex, and listen to Minor Threat and kill people. So I enjoy the hell out of it. And check it out. The second print of number 1's out this week. If you missed that, get Deadly Class. Rick Remender's Black Science 4's out. I was shorted 3s and haven't got them replaced yet, so I'll have the second print of that next week for my customers that missed that. But 4 was awesome. I really liked it. It kind of closed that first story arc of 4 issues, jumped around everywhere. No, it did not answer any questions. It just shows you who lived, who died, how they died. Basically, it started after this, and so some characters lived, and I guess you can assume the ones that weren't part of that narrative died. And it was just truly awesome. I love Black Science. I love the idea of like a league of anarchist scientists, because science really doesn't have to be ruled by governments or even ethics. Like science is its own end and its own means, and Rick Remender gets it. And I love Rick Remender. You're the best, buddy. Rat Queens, number 5's out. That means the collection's going to be out really soon. And this book is just a lot of fun. It's like a fantasy setting, kind of like a role-playing game. And it's in kind of medieval fantasy setting. And it's just 4 badass women that drink a lot and kick a lot of ass. So it's basically, if you were cool, what you would do if you were playing a role-playing game. And I happen to know people that are cool that do this, and they love this book. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to be promoting the crap out of the collection. And I like Curtis from Peter Panzerfaust and his Twitter rants against Jane from Serenity, which were fun. I guess Jane from Serenity is a libertarian who, for some reason, doesn't think gays should be able to be married, so that's kind of weird. But they had a great Twitter rant exchange, and it's a great segue from Rat Queens to Serenity. Serenity, really digging that this book continues the story from the movie, because I want more of that story. And if we can't have it with the actors and we can't have it with that budget, give it to me in a comic. I love comics. You love comics. You love Serenity. You love comics. The Venn diagram overlap means you should buy this Serenity book, because it continues the story in the only way the story is being continued at this point. And that's awesome. It's totally canon, and it's Whedon's writing it. Okay, his brother Zach Whedon's writing it, but still, come on. Walking Dead came out. This book, I'm not going to spoil stuff, but there's some new hope in this all-out war. There's some hope here in this issue. This is part 8 of 12, so it's getting towards the I guess the Return of the Jedi part of it. Where we're going to have some Ewoks come and we're going to overthrow the Empire. So that's where we're at, and it was fun. This book, Revenge, was originally solicited as Revenger. The title character is called Revenger. It's weird. Jonathan Ross wrote it, who's done some other comic stuff and did a lot of stuff in England. I think he's one of like those British people's big deal celebrities. And Ian Churchill, who's done a lot of crazy comics, super detailed work. And it's for mature readers, has a lot of sex, a lot of violence, a lot of nudity, and just a total asshole protagonist. But he seems to... A character that he's wronged terribly is getting revenge on him, and now he wants to get revenge in return. So it's kind of like dueling banjos of revenge. And that's my American review of a British thing, dueling banjos of revenge. And it was quite fun. If you're a fan of Avatar stuff, you'll probably really like it, because it felt a lot like an Avatar book. Very graphic, very sexual, and just a lot of gratuitous blood and gore. If that's doing anything for you, you will love that book. X-Files Conspiracy, you know how much I've been digging this. Just these little one-shots, and the Transformers and X-Files. It was awesome. It was really cool because they're robots in disguise. This is part of their entire mythos. They're the robots in disguise. So why wouldn't characters from the X-Files, like the Lone Gunman, want to uncover that mystery, uncover that disguise, expose them? And that's what you get in one issue here. And it was awesome. And finally, Invincible, Volume 19, The War at Home's out. It's way better than the War at Home sitcom. And this is the volume where after that issue 100 where all that shenanigans happens, and if you're reading, if you read volume 19, you want this because you read issue 100 in volume 18. This was great, fun little snapshot of the series with a ridiculous cliffhanger last page. So, if you're reading the volumes because you don't like waiting between issues, this last page cliffhanger is going to make you wait like 6 months. You might want to just jump into the issues because it's just that good. And that's this week in comics. Hope you find something you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. Buy comics digitally through us. It's awesome. And if you're local, come by the Geekeasy. It's inside of a comic shop, literally like a speakeasy. Tuesday is Nerd Trivia, where you could win your bar tab if you win. Wednesday is Soul Music, where we have some local guys doing some great music. Thursday is Drink and Draw with a live model. Friday, we have Headbanger Button Mash, which is video games and metal music. What's better than that? And then Saturday is Play It Loud, which is a video game Street Pass type of thing with a chiptune finale by the Melt Channel. So come by and geek out. Thanks, bye-bye.